Hey everybody, and welcome to Wire Talk. Today I've got a special guest for the podcast, and it's my husband, Greg Stubbs. He's going to be joining us to talk about questions that you wrote in on marriage and parenting. Sit back, grab your spouse, bring them in, and let's get started.
Well, hello, moms, and welcome to Wire Talk. Today is extremely special because we have a very special guest today, which is the one, the only Greg Stubbs in the studio, but also Dad, as I would call him. So say hello, Dad.
Hey, hello, everybody.
Yep. So we're excited to have you. This is our first time in the studio. Doesn't it look nice?
Yeah, it's very nice. You had a great looking studio.
I know. I love it.
Yeah.
Very professional.
Very professional.
Yes,
Very
most
professional.
definitely.
Very. So, Dad, I know almost everything it is about you, but some of these listeners don't know. So could you give them a quick little bird's eye view bio about who you are and how awesome you are and, you know, all of the wonderful things about you? They've heard about you, but
Listen,
some of them
if you
never
just want to
seen.
keep talking about how great I am,
Yeah.
that would be great. But
And we could spend
anyway.
a whole podcast on just that.
So a little bit about me. I was born in Georgia, and I went to school at Georgia Tech. And after school, joined the Navy, and I went to flight school. And I was a fighter pilot in the Navy, flew the F-14 and F-18 in the Navy on active duty and in the reserves. I did 20 years in the Navy, and then I went to FedEx. I've been a pilot at FedEx for 28 years now, and fly all the way around the world. Karen and I, from the first time we met until now, our relationship has always revolved around me going somewhere and then coming home and then leaving and coming back. So we've gotten a lot of practice in learning how to leave and come back, and learn how to have a long distance relationship and how to make it work when I have to travel. So anyway, obviously, we got 4 kids, and anyway, I guess that's a quick bio about me.
And you've
About
been
it.
flying the MD-11 for a long time at FedEx, but
Yep.
you're about to switch to the
I
777.
am. Yeah, in November, I'm going to go learn the 777. I'm a captain on the MD-11 now, and then I'm going to go fly the MD-11. The 777.
So one thing you didn't say is what's your favorite hobby to do outside of flying? And
I love to go scuba diving,
Yep.
and I've been all around the world doing some scuba diving. So love doing that. That's something that I picked up as the kids got kind of out of the house, and I had more time and a little more margin in the calendar to do. So I love to go scuba diving.
Yep.
And maybe that'll be my retirement job.
Are you a master diver or a dive master? I can always mix this up.
I'm a master diver, and I'm also a dive master.
Which one's higher?
Yeah.
Dive master is the lowest professional rating, and master diver is the highest non-professional recreational rating.
And just so you guys who are listening, Dad, whatever he does, he's a blue, does it to perfection. So he's like, all right, I'm going to become a diver. I'm going to get all my certification. Now he's nitrox, whatever. He has so many certificates. I can't even say them all because I can't remember them. But
I like doing it.
he likes,
and,
if he does it, he's going to do it well.
That's
So-
right. He's going to do it.
right.
So, yeah. So,
all right.
but it's going to be fun today because not only do you dive well, but y'all have been parenting very well for over, how old is Kelsey? 33 years.
Yeah.
You've got some tricks in your bags that, I'm learning from you guys as a young parent, but I know y'all have got lots of wisdom and good things to communicate to all these listeners. So I'm excited to dive in to see what you guys have to say about marriage and parenting.
Let's do it.
And how long have y'all been married for?
37 years.
37 years. It's a long time.
It is a long time.
It's awesome. So I can't wait. I can't think of anybody else I'd rather do a podcast with. It's kind of
interview?
weird interviewing you guys.
I
but,
bet.
But
And
you
we're
know
sitting
what?
here together. Is
Yeah.
that weird?
It's not weird, but it's just like, I feel like I should be the one being interviewed, not me, the interviewer.
Well,
Well,
let's
But
go. Take
let's
it
do
away. You're the
All
pro.
right. So we're going to start by reading some questions that these moms have written in. So we're going
Okay.
to start with question number 1.
Okay.
All right. So the question is, what's the best way to handle disagreements and arguing? We've tried to never argue in front of our kids, but as they get older, I don't want them to have a false picture that marriage is without conflict. How did y'all handle this? Did you keep everything behind closed doors, or did you have disagreements in front of your kids?
We did have disagreements for sure. I think that we did a little bit of both. So we did not hide the fact from the kids that we had disagreements. We would, talk about it, and they would see that, okay, Mom thinks we should we want to go to the beach for a vacation, and I think I want to go to the mountains for a vacation. And y'all would see us have that discussion in front of us. But then if, I think the main point was that if we got to a point where the emotions got too high and we were starting to get kind of revved up about it, we would say to one another, all right, let's talk about this later, just amongst ourselves. And so I think so we did both, to answer the question.
Right. And I think a lot of times we would say, when we would start to, as Greg said, rev up, we'd say, hey, kids, Mom and Dad need to talk about this first, and then we will get back with you on our answer. Because a lot of times, y'all would want an answer right then. Can I go to Susie's house to spend the night? And my answer would probably be no. Greg's would be yes, and I'd have to tell him why and all that. So I'd say, hey, Greg, let's talk about this, and then let's give him an answer. We had to pause. Because my parents growing up, I would see them have discussions, and not big blow-ups or anything, but just discussions and disagreements and all that. But you never saw that with your parents.
No, we would. In fact, it's kind of funny. I never saw my parents argue. I mean, I'm sure they had disagreements, and I'm sure they argued about different things, but I never saw it. And so we were newly married. I mean, just a couple of months down in Meridian, Mississippi. I was in flight school, and we got into an agreement and had a little bit of a disagreement, and we had a little bit of an argument. And I was really down and depressed. And Kara's like, "What's wrong with you?" And I said, "Does this mean we're going to get divorced because we're having an argument?"
And I was like,
she's like, "Heavens
no, my Lord,
Why
we're
would you
just
think that?"
disagreeing."
So anyway,
But he had never seen it.
So
he thought, oh, this must mean we are not good for each other.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Lord knows. This is just what we do.
This is what we do.
This is what we do. But I think one thing that we did well when we decided that we would have to go and have a conversation behind closed doors and figure out a solution was when we came out and we would get ready to share the decision with the kids, or we would say, Mom and I have decided.
Right. We were united.
We were united on that. So it was important for the kids to know that, going in there, Dad wanted the mountain, Mom wanted the beach, but coming out, we said, Mom and I decided we're going to go to the beach together.
That's right.
And I think as kids, we kind of knew, like, Mom and Dad were one front.
Yeah, we
and
really did try to portray that.
Yeah. We didn't always love that.
Yeah.
Because we're like, selfishly, we wanted certain things.
Well, kids always know
and we always knew
who's
which
the weaker
parent,
link.
and we also knew which
Absolutely.
parent to ask for certain things, but we'd also get in a lot of trouble if we went back and asked the other parent after the other parent.
That's right. That's why I tell moms all the time to be united.
Yes, it's
with
very
your
important.
spouse. It is very important.
Yes. All right, moving on. Question number 2. Our lives are full to the point of bursting. We have an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old participating in the usual activities, baseball, dance, Awana, etc. Both of us work. We have a family in town, which means lots of good things like invitations to birthday parties, social activities, etc. How did you make time to stay connected in busy seasons? Were there seasons that you didn't do dates? Is that okay? We do spend a lot of time together, but it's not necessarily just one-on-one.
Yeah. I think personally dates are very important. I think they were honestly more important to me than your dad. Not because he didn't want to go on a date. I just think men don't think about dates as much as women. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. And to answer that question most specifically, when she says, was there a time when you didn't go on a date? No.
That's right.
We always dated, no matter how busy the schedule got, we always found time to do that.
Because I really needed it. I needed it more so than Dad. Because Dad would fly away for 2 weeks and get his break, and I never got a break. So, I would always say, hey, I need a date. And so I think to answer her question too, you've got to be intentional on carving out time with your spouse. And you need to think about it like you do your investment plan, like your 401. You are investing now for your future. You invest money now in the 401k to retire on. But same thing with your relationship. If you don't keep this going, then whenever you get to the end, you're not going to know, be still as connected with each other as you are at one point. So it's better to make these small investments and then have that for your future.
Right.
Right. And in terms of making time, we just set that as if this mom has seen some of your other curriculum, you talk about your non-negotiables.
Right.
That for us was a non-negotiable.
Right.
So we made it work. That became a priority for both of us.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you thought about initiated it more often, but there was never any pushback from me.
No.
I was always, yeah, let's go. So that was a priority that we were both united on, making sure that we had date time built in. Even in the busy season, it was always a non-negotiable.
That's right.
Practically speaking, like just as it wasn't an everyday type thing. It probably wasn't every 6 months. So in realistic world, how often do you think y'all dated every so often? It doesn't have to be an exact science. I'm just
I would say at least once a week.
We tried to do at least something once a week, even if it was just, it didn't have to be get in the car, go on a date.
Okay.
But even if it was just like, hey guys, mom and dad are going to walk around the block, or we're going to, as y'all were obviously we didn't leave toddlers in the house and go walk around the block. But we tried to do something once a week.
Right. I think both of these,
they both work.
So you have to get kind of creative. I know that when we were, there was a time when the kids were in school, and on the Fridays that I wasn't at work, we would be a day date. We would have lunch, and then we'd go to the matinee movie, get out in time, and rush home to be home before the kids got home from school. But that was the way we were able to create a day date that still worked with our for the kids' busy schedules.
I would just say, as a rule of thumb for everybody starting, like if they're not dating at all right now, try to get 2 things on the calendar per month.
That's great.
Just 2.
Yeah.
Because I think it can be a little overwhelming if you haven't done it in a while and you're like, once a week?
Yeah,
I can't even get once a month.
Yeah.
So try twice a month.
Maybe one be shorter, maybe one be a little bit longer.
Yeah. Those are helpful.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So, next question's about money. So money is a constant source of tension in our house. My husband and I do not see eye to eye when it comes to what priorities should be. Admittedly, I'm a saver and he's a spender. He says yes to everything for the kids, and I think they're going to become spoiled by never hearing no. I'm tired of constantly fighting him about it. Is this the kind of thing we should go to counseling over?
Well, I don't know if we'll be able to answer this question properly, because I don't think we ever had a disagreement about money. Do you?
Not.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So,
we are.
plenty
This is one of the
discussion.
main things. I'm a spender. He's a saver.
Yeah, we're the opposite of this couple.
100%.
Yeah.
She said, should they go to counseling over? Honestly, if they can't come to an agreement, yes, they need to go to counseling. And the reason I say yes is not because it's a huge issue, but it's an issue that can easily be worked out. And that's where counseling comes in. One time, just to give an example, we were given some money by Greg's parents for Christmas. And we were driving home from Statesboro. It's a 4-hour drive. And we got into an argument of what we were going to do with the money. Greg wanted to save the whole amount. I wanted to spend the whole amount on the house because there were certain things I wanted to do for the house. And we could not come to an agreement on it. So the next week I was at work. I was working at a church, and I went into the financial guy in our department, and I just said, he was in his 70s, way older, and I just said, Bob, I have a question. Greg and I, we cannot come to an agreement on this. And he just sat there and listened, and I said, he wants to save it, I want to spend it, and he just very calmly said, well, why don't you do both? And I just said, what? I mean, that was such a foreign concept to me. It was either my way or his way. And he said, why don't you put half of it in savings and half of it on the house and spending? And it was just like this light bulb went off, and I'm like, that's so great. Like, it's so brilliant. But we were so close to the situation, we could not come up.
See out of it.
No, we couldn't. So I told Greg, and he's like, okay, that works. And sometimes that's all a counselor does. They just give one outside opinion. That's why Birds on a Wire works for so many moms. I'm an outsider looking in, telling you my opinion. You're like, oh, I've never thought about that. But you just need the perspective. So what do you think?
Well, I agree with what you said. Sometimes counseling is necessary to break the log jam of a disagreement or
Conflict?
Yes, conflict. Thank you. In this particular question specifically about spending money on the kids, he wants to spend more, and she's afraid that they're going to get spoiled. I think this is a behind the door meeting that the husband and the wife need to get together and say, okay, let's decide on how much we think is appropriate to spend on the kids each, let's just say, month. And if they say, all right, we're going to spend, and I'll just make up a number, $100 a month on the children each month. And then once they've agreed on that, then all the tension about whether to say yes or no to the kids is that's gone, because they've discussed it, figured out how much it's going to be, $100 a month, and then they just keep track of it. And when they get down to $80 or $90 spent, and there's only $10 left, and the kids want to go out to eat, or they want to go buy this toy, then it also helps them understand the value of money. Dad says, look, we have $10 left to spend this month. So we can either go buy this toy now, and then for the next 10 days, there's nothing else we can buy.
Yeah.
So I think that's a practical solution is for them to get together, discuss how much they're going to spend on each month on the kids, and then stick with it.
Yep.
Well, you guys did the envelope system growing up.
We did.
When we were like in high school.
Yeah.
And I think for me, it was really helpful to be like, because you'd pull out your allotted money for the month or 2 weeks or whatever it was, and you and Dad would have the envelopes out and divvy it all up. And
at the beginning, it was a lot of money. All of y'all were like, wow, that's so much money.
Well, you know, when you're in high school, you're like, $20 is a lot of money.
Yeah.
But it was helpful for us as kids to also see, like, Mom, can we go out to eat? Mom, just hand us the envelope. It's empty.
It's empty.
What? It's empty?
Yep.
We had so much money in there, and it just
all
goes
gone.
fast.
Yeah.
So kind
To
of
the next payday.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
So, well, talking about closed-doored questions, this is kind of goes into this next question. And it says, I have a habit of second-guessing my husband in front of the kids. He would call it undermining him. It tends to be over discipline-type incidences when I think he's being too harsh. I stay at home / spend more time with the kids, so I feel like I have a better handle on where the kids' behaviors is coming from, or how it should be handled. Is it best for me to let him put a kid in timeout and talk to him after the fact, even though I think the child is being punished unnecessarily? Or how can I do a better job of expressing my opinion without undermining him?
So Karen says, sometimes you're a little bit harsh on this. So yes, you're probably undermining him when you say something after he's disciplined the kids, especially if it's done in front of the children.
Yeah,
like, why'd you do that? So this is, as you said, Emily, this is a behind the door discussion. So go into the bedroom and talk it out with your husband. Like, I thought when you put Tom on the step for timeout for that, it was really not that big of a deal. And here's why. So that's the key, I think, in this is the mom and the husband have to get together, and he can say, this is why I thought it was important for him to be disciplined over this issue, because I believe that if this continues, then it's going to develop a character trait that we don't want to have. Or the mom can say, I have been working with him, this child, on this particular issue during the week. You're not home. You didn't know that he's been doing very well on this. And so I think that was a little harsh given the progress that he's made around this particular discipline issue. So that's why, for one, you don't do it in front of the kids. Second, when you get behind the closed doors, you have to give, you talk about giving the whys behind the nose. You have to give the kind of the whys behind why he thinks it's a necessary discipline, why she thinks it's maybe too harsh, and then to come together on and agree upon what is appropriate in the future regarding that.
I also think that as a wife, we can undermine our husband without even meaning to. I don't think she's meaning to.
Right.
She's doing it because, hey, you didn't know this, blah, 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 blah. But sometimes him having the outside perspective, not being around the kids and all, he does see things differently than what she does. And it's a trust in the relationship between the husband and the wife. He wants the best for his kids. She wants the best for their kids. So they just need to know we're on the same page here. He may have a different approach, a different style, and that's okay. The children need both styles and both approaches. They need the softness of the mom, and they need the harshness of the dad, and they need both of them at the same time. So, but if she corrects him in front of the children, this letting the children know, hey, they're not together on this, and we can definitely play on that, and children will do that 100%.
Yeah.
And the other thing I would just warn against is sometimes we as moms correct our husbands over and over and over, and then the husbands are just like, okay, fine, you do it yourself, and they back out of the picture completely, and you don't want that. You really don't want that.
And, we had something, this is not dissimilar to kind of a season in our life when I was traveling, away, and the kids were younger. This mom says that I'm around the kids a lot, and I know what is, kind of where they are in terms of discipline, and how I'm more familiar with what's working and what's not working. And when I would be gone, you would share with me and say, look, these are something that I'm working on with Kelsey or Emily. And so when you come back into the house, I want you to be aware of it. Yeah. That helps you. We all, again, back to the thought of getting on the same page. That discussion behind closed doors gets both parents on the same page around discipline. And the husband then can lean into the knowledge that the mom has gained by being around the kids, on a daily basis. Yeah. And then he can use her experience to help him be a better parent and make wise choices with how and when and where to discipline the children.
That's right.
That's great.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, this is going by fast, but we only have one more question left.
All right, let's do it.
All right. Last question for this episode. Says, I feel like my husband and I are roommates at this point in our marriage. We've been married for 6 years, have 2 kids, and every day feels like a to-do list from dawn to dusk. I'm so tired of trying to keep putting one foot in front of the other when it comes to parenting and working. What can we do to get back to where we were?
Well, because you have children and you're working, you are putting one foot in front of the other. And these are the hard years of marriage. It's just like whenever you're in a job and you're in there for 6+ years, 10+ years, it's just one thing after another. And it can feel doldrum and stuff like that. So you just have to be creative. You have to figure out ways to connect with your husband outside of the kids. Like when you get them to bed at night, maybe don't turn on the TV. Don't look at your phones. Put the phones down. Go outside on the porch or the patio and just sit and talk and, sit there, have a drink. Like we love to just drink iced tea and sit on the back porch and just talk to each other. Things like that. I think you got to get creative. What do you think?
Well, it goes back to this whole idea about the non-negotiables. You have to, if it has not become a priority, then it's necessary for you to get together and say, look, I feel like, again, this is another time where the communication piece of marriage is so important, where the wife can say to the husband, look, I feel like we are becoming 2 ships passing in the night. And how do you feel about that? And hopefully, if the husband is in a good place, he's going to say, you know what, I'm sensing that as well. Let's reestablish, when we got married, we made sure we said we're going to be, that our relationship is going to be number one. So let's reestablish this as a non-negotiable in our marriage, okay? And let's prioritize spending time together for the purpose of making our relationship strong. And then you got to strategize activities, and it is busy. It's hard to do. That's why people say marriage is hard, because you have to spend some time to make sure that this becomes a non-negotiable and strategize how you're going to do it. Be creative, especially in busy lives with people, both parents working and the kids in their busy schedules. It has to happen. And but this is not an unusual
this
thing.
happens to everybody.
I was in a men's group, leading a men's group, and had a bunch of professional men in there, highly successful. And one of the guys said they'd been married like 15 years. And he goes, I feel like honestly at this point, we're just 2 ships passing in the night. We live in the same house, but that's it. But, so it can happen to any marriage at any time. But the point is that, first of all, it's great that you're recognizing it, and then you're going to take some action to do it. And I think you and I have always had great success with this concept of always having something on the calendar to look forward to.
Right.
So I would recommend to them to get together and plan out something that you can put on the calendar in 6 months or 9 months for you to look forward to. That's a way that's one way where you can say, all right, this is a way we're going to prioritize our relationship, is by opening up the calendar and finding something, a place or time where we can go and just be alone, just the two of us.
I think definitely they need to get away once a year, just themselves. Hire a sitter, get grandparents to come in, whatever you got to do. but do it. And that needs to happen sooner rather than later, because it takes, and I would stay longer than just the weekend, because it takes a couple days, especially with littles, to unwind. And then like on day 3, 4, you're just getting to the two of you. So at least stay 4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
And when you have this discussion, I think it's important as you sit down with your spouse to talk about, I feel like we're not connected either emotionally, we're not connected spiritually, we're not connected physically, from an intimacy standpoint. All of those things need to be on the table, and share those with your spouse and say, look, this is where I feel we are disconnected.
In a loving way,
Yes,
and
right.
wanting to try to figure it out,
right.
not blaming.
No, not blaming.
Yeah.
Say, I think you particularly did a good job. Anytime we had these kind of discussions in our family, says, look, the reason you'd start up, say, look, I'm bringing this up because I want us to get better at this.
Yeah.
I'm not casting blame on you.
Right.
I'm just as I own my part of it. But the purpose of me coming to you to talk about this, which is uncomfortable, is I want to make us stronger. Yeah. That disarmed me and got me off of the defensive. And put me in a better frame of mind to listen with intent of trying to find a solution.
I agree.
That's great. Okay. Well, mamas, that's all we have for you today. But if this was encouraging to you, or if you're like, man, my husband needs to listen to this, I don't know if you know this, but there is a Parenting Together curriculum that mom and dad filmed, and it is a 6-week six-week series that it's a DVD. And if you're always like, I need my husband to listen to Birds on a Wire, this is the perfect opportunity for you to involve your husband, get a small group. If you can't get a small group, do the two of you. It's a 6-week video. However you can pace it, it's a DVD. But I highly encourage you to go to the store, birdsonawire.moms.com, and get you a DVD for this, because it really is an amazing curriculum. And y'all dive into 6 amazing topics that would be beneficial to you and your marriage and really your family as a unit, because when you're stronger together, your family is going to be stronger. But thank you so much for sending in your questions to Birds on a Wire, because without you, we wouldn't have a podcast. We couldn't encourage you. And these questions are real. They are helpful to hear answered by a wonderful couple. Heck, they're my parents. I love them. But thank you again for just being a part of our ministry. We love you so much, and we're so thankful for you. And if you have any other questions for our podcast, please send them our way to info@birdsonawire.moms.com. And we can't wait to see you next week. See you.